everyone. Uh, Again, I'm here to present the appraisal of the problems affecting microfinance banks in emerging economies and also mitigating factors that is using Nigeria as an experience. Um, the efficient management of microfinance banks, of course, is considered as very, very pivotal to enhance the growth of the MSMEs. And this is, of course, expected to be achieved through the granting of credits to the micro, small, and medium enterprises. However, studies have shown that this expectation has not been effectively met due to some endemic problems, according to researchers. It has also been argued that there's a need to devise, of course, efficient strategies to combat the problems confronting the MFBs in Nigeria. And while studies have established problems of MFBs in Nigeria, the beauty about this study is that not only identifying problems, also providing solutions to it, because majority of researchers will be talking about problems, but this identifies specific 20 problems as well as 20 factors that could mitigate the effect of the problems. How this study was conducted? Of course, the software research design was adopted through the use of self-administered questionnaire. And of course, the target population was 250 respondents, while only 223 respondents, that is 89.2%, were validly received. And of course, the respondents were microfinance bank operators as well as the MSMEs entrepreneurs. And the area covered for this research was Lagos State, which is, of course, the largest concentration of microfinance banks and MSMEs in Nigeria. The data were analyzed through descriptive statistics like percentage, mean, median, standard deviation, and table. The findings of this study, if you look at that table, you will see that identify the problems first, the problems affecting microfinance banks. This is number 1 to 10. You know, I said that we identified 20 specific problems. And if you look at those problems and you look at the answer, the 5 Likert scale method was adopted. And if you look at column 3, which says SD plus D, that is strongly disagreed and disagree were lumped together, while the next column U means undecided. The next column was agreed or strongly agreed. If you look at the problems, look at it, almost the respondents were majorly in agreement with the problems identified. Look at this, it talked about high operating and financial expenses. So majority of the respondents, which composes the microfinance operators themselves, as well as the MSMEs entrepreneurs, agreed in totality that there's high operating and financial expenses, which is a major problem for microfinance banks in Nigeria. Then they talk about the low revenue base. They also agree to that. When you talk about low revenue base, it means that they don't have enlarged products, which means that the level of interest on the credit granted is very low. So there isn't much of revenue enlargement for this particular financial sector. Then they talk about lack of effective corporate governance. And the same thing, you see almost everything: inadequate startup capital and poor funding, ineffectiveness of policy framework and regulatory monitoring, inability to adequately extend funding to the larger number of poor citizens and small businesses. And if you go on, inefficient management, low funding of risk sectors like agriculture and manufacturing. Then 11 to 20, diversion of funds. Also, you could also see that they agree to by 97.8%. 218 out of 223 respondents agree that there's an issue of diversion of funds. The inconsistency of government policies, lack of standard and uniformity in financial transactions, insufficient publicity and awareness at the grassroots, insiders abuse. This one is very key. Insiders abuse. That is people that are in charge of the management of this are also abusing the system. They talk about inadequate business opportunities, the low level literacy of the expected targets, poor database, which we mentioned, which is being a recurring thing, poor database, then fraudulent practices and corruption is also, you have to agree that the corruption is very endemic in this part of the world. The ineffective monitoring of the allocated funds to ensure the utilization of that fund is as intended. So if you look at that trend, you will realize that almost 90-something%, 99, 97, 98% were in agreed that these are major problems, 20 are specific problems. Now, the same thing, we now look at mitigating factors to reduce these problems. You see also that trend, majorly almost all the respondents agreed to these factors, which have been highlighted as mitigating factors for those problems. Now, for instance, they talk about the timely preparation of financial statements. We just asked today that some are not even up to date in their financial statements. We talk about adoption of cost efficiency mechanism. They talk about the development of sound microfinance practice with sustainable regulatory framework, the timely prosecution of fraudsters. This is a major case too. The introduction of more effective internal control system. Of course, we highlighted investing more on information technology, which Professor Kisato also asked at that time for enhancement of operations. You could see the trend. Almost 99%, 98% agreed in totality with all these factors that we have highlighted could mitigate against the problems of microfinance banks in Nigeria. And of course, they talk about timely investigation of any undercapitalization below the lower limit and effective background check of staff and customers. This is very, very germane. That is to do a background check, an effective one, of the staff and as well as customers. Then the 11 to 20 of those factors that could mitigate the problems. Then they talk about the need for government and other stakeholders to inculcate sound banking culture in the management and customers, increase in revenue base through product diversification, creation of more awareness to the poor and small businesses, the need for more workshops and training programs for microfinance staff, building of investors' confidence, the need for a more proactive corporate governance framework, and so on and so forth. To the last, effective monitoring of how loans given to customers are utilized through appropriate management customer forum. If you look at all these, we will be able to see that there's what we call existing problems. And the majority of the people also agree with the problems to solve it. So it's as good as we know what to do. But have we been doing that? That's the main concern of this research. Then recommendation. The study recommends the need for government to set up a body comprises of all stakeholders to ensure that the problems identified and those motivating factors are critically and of course objectively examined for timely address of the issues raised. It also recommends that the terms of reference for the body should be stressed upon so as for not to have a conflict of their roles with the existing regulatory bodies. So that is the recommendation. Thanks and God bless.
Thank you very much. Again, that was very good timing. So you're less than the stipulated time. Very good. So sadly, when he talked about Nigeria, it looks like they do have many problems. Now, considering you're a group of experts who are very intelligent and have vast experiences, please ask him questions, give him contributions so that when he goes back to his government, they will create solutions for the microfinancing. Any questions from the audience?
If I may, David Graves.
Yes, David.
I've been associated with the visiting Nigeria at times, and I was just wondering, just off the record, how productive are, say, EFCC and ICPC working with the banking system in Nigeria? During my visits, I find there's been a weak relationship between those organizations that investigate financial crime that brings the governance and stability within Nigeria. And I was just wondering, what is the relationship between those two organizations and the banking system, please?
Is that for me to answer?
Yes, Israel, it's your question.
Yes, I think Prof. Graves actually nailed the nail on the head. the truth of the matter is that we have institutions in Nigeria, and the government has also been trying to ensure that these institutions work very well. But of recent, if you have been reading in Nigeria, you realize that even the head of EFCC was also faced a panel in terms of those items recovered from the corrupt people that we could not be accounted for, though we have not been able to see the outcome of the panel. But the truth of the matter that even the head, or if the head of an institution like that is also impacted one way or the other, you cannot see the problem that we are facing. But in the banking industry, you know, you have to look at the mainline banking, or those commercial banks and microfinance. You know, microfinance banks, so to say, as what, if you look at all those problems identified, has a very low revenue base.
Right.
And of the things you have in the conventional banks, like strong internal control, even some of them even have a forensic unit. I'm talking of those big banks, but these microfinance banks don't have that kind of advantage or opportunities because of their low revenue base. So most of these things is much more into the conventional banking than the SMEs, sorry, of the microfinance banks. So whilst we are talking about all those institutions being there, but the truth of the matter is, have they been able to go down the lane to places, to sectors like the microfinance banks, which is not a major conventional banking in Nigeria? The answer is no. The answer is no. If you look at, if see a microfinance bank that could not give a financial statement of 5 years. So those are the kind of things we're having, and we have so many of them. They're the kind of customers they have. You know, the revenue, if you look at one of the problems, low revenue base. We're talking of low revenue base, we want to ensure that they have continuity of operation before talking of even having such stronger internal control. So it's a major factor. Whilst we have institutions, but the strength in terms of ensuring that those institutions, they are stronger than individuals that occupy positions. Those are major key factors.